The Galactic Military Academy was the most powerful training center in the known universe. It was built on a moon far from Earth, surrounded by glowing stars and guarded by ships that never slept. Every year, cadets from hundreds of planets came here to become warriors. They were strong, fast, loud, and proud. They came from alien empires with long histories of war. And in the middle of all this walked one silent human girl, Cadet Elara. Elara was different. She didn't shout. She didn't fight for attention. She never raised her voice. She moved like the wind, quiet and unseen. While others showed off their strength or argued about ranks, she simply listened and watched. She kept her head down and followed every order perfectly. But no one paid her any attention. The other cadets laughed behind her back. "The Earth Girl is so weak," one said. "Does she even understand how to fight?" asked another. Some even forgot her name and just called her Ghost Girl. It was the first day of live training week. The halls were buzzing. Everyone had heard the news. Apex Commander Varnock was coming. He was a legend. A 10-foot-tall beast from the war planet Nargos. He had ended 3 wars by himself. His armor was covered in battle scars, and his voice made even teachers nervous. Today, he was visiting the academy to test the new cadets. It was a rare honor, but also a terrifying one. As the cadets lined up in the training dome, the ground shook slightly. A heavy door opened. A shadow stepped through. Thick, armored boots slammed into the floor with a loud thud. Apex Commander Varnock had arrived. He walked past the cadets slowly, staring at each one with glowing red eyes. Some cadets stood straighter. Others tried not to shake. When he reached Elara, he stopped. He looked down at her. She didn't move. She didn't flinch. Her eyes were calm. Varnock grunted. "Human. I thought they stopped sending your kind. Here." There was a pause. Elara didn't respond. She simply looked at him and nodded slightly. "No words," he said. "No fire, no pride." Still, she said nothing. A few cadets chuckled quietly. Varnock looked amused. He turned away and walked to the center of the room. "Prepare yourselves," he shouted. "You will be tested in every way. Mind, body, spirit. If you fail, you leave. If you run, you don't come back. Understood?" "Yes, Commander," the cadets shouted. Training began. Obstacle courses appeared from the ground. Targets popped out of Zion's walls. Robotic attackers rolled in from hidden doors. The cadets moved quickly, shouting and pushing to be first. Everyone wanted to impress the commander. Everyone except Elara. She didn't run fast. She didn't shout, but she finished every task exactly right. Her aim was perfect. Her balance was flawless. While others stumbled or wasted time showing off, she moved through each stage like she had done it 1,000 times. A teacher in the mob and corner, Instructor Hale, noticed her. He tapped his tablet and checked her file. He whispered. "No records of past training, but these scores, they're too perfect." As the final test finished, Varnock stepped forward. "I have seen many things today," he said. "I have seen fools. I have seen fighters, but I have not yet seen a warrior." He turned toward the cadets. "Tomorrow, you will face a mock battle. It will not be fair. It will not be kind. It will be real. Only the strong will stand. The weak will fall." As the cadets left the room, excited and nervous, one strange sound echoed through the hall. It was small, soft, almost like a whisper. It came from Elara. She had said something. One cadet turned. What did she say? Another shrugged. "Didn't hear." Sounded like a countdown. Elara stood alone at the edge of the training dome. Her eyes closed. Her lips moved slightly. No one could hear the words clearly. But for those paying attention, something felt strange. The lights above her flickered for just a second. The ground seemed too quiet, the air too still. Instructor Hale watched her closely. He leaned toward another officer and whispered, "Something's off about that girl." The officer replied, "She's just a human cadet." Hale shook his head. "No, she's something else. And I think we're all about to find out what." The next morning came fast. The Academy's sky dome turned a glowing red as the fake sun rose over the training grounds. It was time. The final test was about to begin. Cadets from every species were lined up in full gear. Armor on, weapons ready, nerves showing in their eyes. Apex Commander Varnock stood on a high platform above them. His voice echoed through the dome. "Today is not a lesson. It is war." He lifted one massive hand. The ground began to shift. Walls moved, and the smooth floor broke apart to reveal a massive battlefield. There were metal towers, smoke clouds, trap zones, and blinking lights. It looked like a real war zone. "This is a live simulation," Varnock said. "You will fight in teams. Your goal is simple. Survive, adapt, win. Your enemies will be stronger, smarter, and faster than before. And some of them will be each other." Cadets looked at one another in surprise. Were they supposed to turn on their teammates? Alara stood quietly at the edge of her group. She wore a small tight suit with no heavy armor. Her weapon was light, just a stun blade and a basic scanner. Other cadets had blasters, shields, even mini drones. But Alara didn't look worried. A siren screamed. The battle simulation had begun. Instantly, chaos exploded. Alien cadets rushed forward, some hiding behind cover, others charging into the smoke. Red lights flashed. Drones zipped through the air, scanning and shooting energy bolts. Some cadets screamed and ducked. Others were hit and pulled from the field by auto-recovery bots. Alara didn't move. She crouched low behind a broken wall, her scanner glowing faintly. Her eyes were calm, focused. She watched every corner of the battlefield before taking a single step. 2 alien cadets from the Vorga species, tall with 4 arms and rough skin, spotted her. "She's easy," one growled. "Take her out first." They rushed toward her, weapons raised, but Alara didn't run. She waited. Just 2 seconds before they reached her, she pressed a small button on her wrist. Boom! A flash grenade exploded right between the Vorga cadets. They screamed and fell back, blinded. Alara moved like lightning. She disarmed one with a twist, slid under the second, and stunned both before they could recover. In less than 10 seconds, she disappeared into the smoke again. From the observation room, Instructor Hale leaned forward in his seat. "Did you see that?" he said to the others. "She predicted them." Another officer nodded slowly. "She didn't just defend herself, she trapped them." Meanwhile, across the field, other cadets were falling fast. The simulation was brutal. Machines shot electric nets. Drones dropped stun bombs. Commanders appeared on screens, giving fake enemy orders. Some cadets panicked. Others fought each other, thinking it was part of the test. But Alara stayed calm. She moved like a shadow, using every corner and sound to her advantage. She never wasted a shot. She avoided every trap, and more than once, she saved other cadets, quietly, dragging them to safety, giving a warning just in time, or knocking out an attacking bot before it hit them. The cadets she saved didn't even realize who helped them. "Who was that?" one asked, looking around in the smoke. "I think it was the human girl," another said, confused. Commander Varnock watched from above. His arms were crossed. His face showed no emotion, but his eyes were locked on one thing. "Alara! She's doing well," an officer beside him said. "Too well," Varnock replied. "She's not fighting like a cadet. She's fighting like a strategist." Back on the field, the final phase began. All cadets left. Were told to reach the command tower at the center of the map. It would be guarded by a powerful robot commander. Whoever made it there and took the tower would win. Dozens of cadets rushed toward it, fighting, pushing, and shouting. Lasers flew through the air. Smoke covered the ground. The tower rose like a giant in the center of it all, but Alara had already reached it. She had taken a different path, through maintenance tunnels, hidden below the field. Her scanner found them. No one else even saw them. Inside the tower, the robot commander activated. It was huge, 7 feet tall, with spinning arms and red eyes. Alara didn't panic. She stood still. Her hand moved to her belt. She pulled out a small, ancient-looking disc and placed it on the control wall. The robot commander froze. Its red eyes turned blue. It powered down. Seconds later, other cadets arrived, weapons ready. But the tower was already silent, and in the middle stood the quiet human cadet. She didn't speak. She just looked up at the sky dome, her eyes calm, and for the first time, no one laughed. They stared, silent, confused, and maybe, just a little bit, afraid. The battlefield was quiet now. The simulation had ended, but no one cheered. Cadets stood in silence, staring at the command tower, where Alara stood alone. Smoke curled around her boots. The giant training robot behind her was still shut down, its glowing red eyes now dull and lifeless. The instructors above were whispering among themselves. Some were shocked. Others looked angry. One officer leaned toward Commander Varnock. "She broke the code," he said. "No one's ever done that. That shut down command. It's not part of the test." Varnock didn't answer. He simply stared at Alara, his jaw tight. A few minutes later, the cadets were ordered to return to the main hall. As they walked, many looked over at Alara, some with curiosity, some with fear. She had become the center of everything. In the main hall, Varnock stood on the stage, tall and silent. Behind him, a screen showed the top cadet rankings. At the very top was Alara. Whispers spread through the room. How did a human do that? After the fight, Alara became a name whispered through every hallway of the academy. Some feared her, some admired her, and many wanted to know, who was this quiet human girl? She had appeared from nowhere, barely spoke, and now she had defeated the strongest commander in the training center. But no one had answers. She walked alone, ate alone, and stayed quiet. Whenever someone asked where she came from, she simply said, "Earth," and walked away. But Commander Varnock was not satisfied with that. Late one night, he sat in his dark office, staring at her academy file. It was almost empty. No early records, no family name, just a transfer from an off-world station marked classified. "No one comes here by accident," he muttered. He tapped a code into his system, one only a high-ranking officer could use. The screen flickered. Then a secret file opened. What he saw made his eyes widen. Meanwhile, Alara sat on the roof of the academy, looking at the stars. Her fingers touched a small necklace under her uniform, something old and worn. Inside it was a photo. A man and a woman, her parents. They were scientists. Once, long ago, they had worked on a secret Earth project. They had been brilliant and hunted. One day, soldiers came for them. Alara had been just a child. She remembered the screaming, the fire. her mother hiding her in a crate and whispering, "Stay quiet." No matter what, she never saw them again. She had been rescued later by a stranger, an old agent. He taught her how to survive, how to fight, how to think faster than enemies twice her size, and how to disappear. He trained her in secret, far away from Earth. When she turned 16, he told her, "Now it's your turn. Go show them what humans are made of. But never forget what they did." She never had. Back in the academy, Varnox called a secret meeting with the High Council. They appeared on screen, alien leaders with sharp eyes and soft voices. "This human girl," he said, "is no normal cadet." He showed them the file. The council members looked at each other. "Should we remove her?" "No," one of them said. "We must watch her. She is dangerous, but useful." Varnock nodded slowly. "She beat me. That has never happened before." "And if she turns against us?" another asked. "Then," said Varnock, "we won't survive." At the same time, two cadets followed Alara secretly. They had been ordered to find out more about her. One of them, a large reptilian alien named Krax, whispered to the other, "She's not just strong, she's hiding something." They snuck into her room when she went to training. Inside they found nothing. No photos, no messages, no old things, except a hidden panel under her bed. They opened it. Inside they found a small black cube. "What's this?" the smaller cadet asked. Krax touched it. The cube lit up. A voice spoke. "Project Aurora initiated. Human defense protocol ready. Earth will rise." The cadets froze. They dropped the cube and ran. That night, Alara returned. She saw the open panel. She closed it without a word. Then she looked out her window and whispered, "It's starting." Outside, the stars were quiet, but not for long. Something big was coming. Alara knew someone had been in her room. She could always feel when things were out of place. The hidden panel was slightly off. The floor had faint scratch marks. And the cube, her last link to her parents' project, had been touched. She stared at the panel for a long moment, then turned and walked to the training field without a word. But now she moved differently. Not just quiet, but alert. Something was happening. At the same time, Krax and his friends sat nervously in the mess hall. They didn't speak. They didn't eat. Their minds kept going back to the voice from the cube. Project Aurora initiated. They didn't know what it meant, but they felt it wasn't something they should have heard. And they were right, because someone else had heard it too. Deep in the dark corners of the Academy's network, hidden cameras had recorded them. And those recordings had reached someone far more dangerous than Commander Varnock. His name was Scar. Droll, leader of the Apex Intelligence Unit. Cold, silent, and always watching. He had no love for humans. He had lost too many soldiers during the early wars with Earth. Though peace had been made, he never trusted them. When he saw Ilara's cube and the words, "Earth will rise," he felt rage rise in his chest. "This human girl must be destroyed," he hissed. Back on the training grounds, Ilara faced a new challenge. A simulation test. The instructors had changed it, made it harder, faster, and far more dangerous than before. The course now included flame bots, stun beams, and shifting platforms. She knew it was a trap, but she stepped into the arena anyway. The lights flared. Sirens blared. The course began. At first, the audience cheered, thinking it was just another test. But as the traps kept coming, faster than normal, stronger than regulation, they began to realize this was something else. Ilara ran, jumped, rolled. Her movements were fast and exact. Her eyes scanned everything before making a move. She never panicked, never hesitated. A stun beam hit her shoulder, burning her uniform. She didn't stop. She pressed forward, sweat on her brow, eyes burning with focus. Then, right at the end, a massive metal gate slammed down in front of her. But Ilera had already seen it coming. She slid under it just in time. When she came out the other side, the crowd was silent. Then, one voice clapped. "Varnock!" He stood, eyes locked on her. "You knew it was a trap," he said quietly. She didn't answer. She just walked away. That night, in the shadows of the docking bay, Skardrol arrived at the academy. He wasn't there to train. He wasn't there to observe. He was there to end a threat, Ilara. And he wasn't coming alone. Behind him walked 4 elite Apex assassins. Tall, armored, silent. Their mission was clear. The human cadet had gone too far. She had secrets. She was part of something bigger. And now, she had to be removed. Forever. But Ilara wasn't afraid. In her room, she stared at the cube again. She pressed a hidden button. The cube glowed softly, and a small hologram appeared. Her father's face. "Baby girl," he said. "If you're seeing this, they've found you. Be strong. Trust no one. And remember, Aurora was made to protect you, but also to awaken something more." The message ended. Ilara stood up. They thought she was just a cadet, but she was something more. Ilara walked through the academy halls like nothing had happened. But deep inside, she was ready. She knew someone had opened the hidden panel under her bed. They had touched the black cube, the only thing that connected her to her past. And if they had heard the message, then it was only a matter of time before others came looking for her. She wasn't wrong. In a dark control room far away, Skardrol watched the recorded footage with cold eyes. He was a high-ranking Apex intelligence officer, and he hated humans. To him, they were weak, emotional, and dangerous. But this girl, Ilara, she was something else. She had taken down Commander Varnock. She had passed every test. And now, she had something old, something powerful. Project Aurora, Scar whispered. "It still exists." He gave the order to his elite unit. "Find the girl. Bring me the cube. If she resists, end her." Back at the academy, Ilara entered the training simulator. The screen flashed red. The challenge level had been changed, without warning. It wasn't a test anymore. It was a trap. As soon as the door closed behind her, the room filled with spinning blades, fire traps, and laser drones. Most cadets wouldn't last 5 seconds, but Ilara didn't panic. She moved fast, rolling under beams, flipping over traps, using her environment to survive. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, watching everything. She wasn't just fighting the simulator. She was reading its pattern. Outside the training room, a crowd had gathered. Cadets gasped as they watched her move like a shadow through the deadly course. "She's not normal," one whispered. Even Commander Varnock stood in silence. He had trained the best warriors in the galaxy, but none had ever moved like her. Not even him. Inside, Ilara slid across the floor just as a heat blast shot past her head. She stood up quickly and ran toward the exit. A wall rose in her path. She didn't stop. She kicked off a falling panel and jumped over it. The door opened. She stepped out, unharmed. The room fell silent. Varnock stared at her. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. Ilara said nothing. She walked past him and disappeared into the hallway. That night, the stars above the academy were quiet. But danger had already arrived. Skardrol's elite assassins landed in the shadows of the academy's outer sector. They wore black armor that made no sound. Their mission was clear: find the human cadet and take the cube. Elara sat in her dark room, holding the cube in her hands. A voice played again, her father's voice. "If they find you, don't run, don't hide. You know what to do." She closed her eyes. Then she stood up and opened her locker. Inside was something no one had seen before. A suit. It was black, tight, with blue lines that pulsed with light. It had been made long ago by her parents, not for war, but for survival. Elara placed the cube in her belt and stepped into the suit. She looked in the mirror. She was no longer just a cadet. She was ready for the storm. Outside, the assassins moved closer. They had no idea what was waiting for them, and they would soon regret waking Project Aurora. Night fell across the academy. Everything was quiet, but Elara knew better. She stood near the edge of the dorms, her eyes scanning the shadows. The suit her parents had left behind fit her perfectly. It made no sound when she moved. The black fabrics shimmered faintly, responding to the cool night air. She wasn't just hiding now. She was waiting. The assassins came in groups of 2. They were silent, fast, and deadly. Apex's finest. They thought this would be easy. Just a simple human girl. A cadet. No match for them. But they didn't know who she really was. The first pair moved near the outer hallway. One turned the corner and froze. Elara dropped from above, silent like a falling leaf. With one clean strike, she knocked him unconscious. The second turned to fight, but before he could raise his blade, she had already swept his legs out from under him and hit his pressure point. Both were down in seconds. She dragged them into the dark. Out of sight. 2 down, 6 to go. Inside the academy, Commander Varnock sat in his office, watching the monitors. He had noticed something strange. A security camera had gone black. Then another. He stood up slowly. Something was happening. He tapped his comm. "All guards, check the south hallways." No answer. He called again. Silence. Then he saw it. On the last working screen. Elara. She walked through the hallway like a shadow, dragging an Apex assassin by his armor. His eyes widened. "That girl," he whispered. "What are you?" Meanwhile, Skardroll stood on top of a control tower, looking down at the academy. His sharp vision saw everything. Every hallway, every movement. And now, he saw his assassins failing. One by one, he clenched his fists. This ends now. He jumped from the tower, landing like thunder on the rooftop below. With every step, the ground shook. Skardroll wasn't just a leader. He was a war machine. Elara felt the ground tremble. She turned. He was coming. She placed the cube into her suit's core. It locked into place, and a soft hum began. The suit glowed with blue light, lines running across her arms and legs. Memories flashed in her mind. Her mother teaching her about energy flows. Her father whispering about human DNA and ancient tech. She wasn't just born into this. She was built for it. Down in the dark basement tunnel, the final assassins found her. They rushed forward, blades out. She moved like lightning. One blocked, the other swung. She ducked, rolled, and kicked one into a wall. The other tried to stab her, but she caught his wrist and flipped him onto the floor. It was fast. Brutal. Over. Then silence. But it didn't last. A heavy footstep echoed down the tunnel. Then another, and then Skardroll appeared. He stood at the end of the hallway, tall and wide, his armor glowing red. "You are brave," he said, stepping forward. "But foolish." Elara said nothing. "You could have stayed quiet," he growled. "Stayed weak. But you had to rise." He pulled out a long blade, one made from the bones of Apex's fallen enemies. You are not ready for me. Alara looked at him, calm. I was born ready, she said softly. Then she stepped forward to meet him. No more running, no more hiding. The real fight had begun. The tunnel shook as Skardral marched closer. His blade scraped along the wall, making a harsh metal sound. Alara stood still. Her heart beat calmly. Her eyes locked on his. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. I have crushed warriors stronger than you, Scar growled. What makes you think you'll survive? I'm not here to survive, Alara said, her voice quiet but strong. I'm here to end this. In a blink, he charged. His blade swung down like thunder. Alara jumped to the side, sparks flying. As metal hit stone, she rolled, came up fast, and struck his leg. But the armor was too thick. He laughed. Too weak. He swung again, this time wide. She ducked, feeling the wind rush past her face. Then she saw it, a small crack in his chest plate. Just for a moment, it was enough. She ran straight at him. He laughed again. Foolish human, but it was a trick. At the last second, she dropped low and slid under him, twisting her body and placing a small disc on his back. It blinked blue, activating, boom! A shockwave exploded through the tunnel. Scar screamed and stumbled. Smoke filled the air. Alara didn't stop. She jumped onto his back, using the smoke as cover. Her hands moved fast. She pulled wires, tore at weak points in his armor, and pressed her palm to the cube in her suit. The energy pulsed. Blue light poured from her suit into his body. He screamed again. His systems began to fail. Sparks flew from his back. The red lights in his armor flickered. You don't know what you're doing, he said, choking. Yes, Alara replied. I do. With one final move, she flipped over him and slammed her palm onto the crack in his chest plate. The cube sent a final surge of power, deep and ancient. The energy of her people, of Earth. The chest plate shattered. Scar dropped to his knees, and then he fell. Hard. Silence. Only Alara stood now, breathing, alive, victorious. Commander Varnock arrived too late. He saw her standing over Scar's broken body. He stared in shock. You defeated the Apex Commander? She looked at him, eyes glowing with quiet fire. He ignored me. They all did. Varnock stepped forward. Who are you, Cadet Alara? She looked at the stars through the broken ceiling and replied, I am Alara of Earth, daughter of Project Aurora, and I'm just getting started. The next morning, the entire academy was talking. No one laughed at Alara now. No one looked past her. They looked up to her. For the first time, a human cadet led the ranks. And far beyond the academy, across the stars, the Apex Empire heard of what happened. They weren't laughing either. They were planning. Because a new legend had just begun, and her name was Alara.